Hey, good morning everyone. So our topic is focuses only the food taboo. So this case study talks about the cultural differences in food, particularly in cheese. So in many Western countries like Switzerland, cheese is very important, or it also considered as a source of national pride for them. But in some cultures, cheese are seen as spoiled, impure, or even unhealthy para sa ilaha. Now, the situation is na exchange student sa host family. So, of course, they are very proud of their cheese. So, they offered different varieties of cheese to the students. But the students politely declined. Wala sila ning sugot. Because cheese are, dili sila mo consume og cheese. Or ang cheese is, pagtanaw nila is kanang, yes, as I told earlier, na unhealthy na para sa ilaha. So, ang host family is na-confuse sila, or they are even felt little offended. Kay, of course, ang cheese sa ilaha is very important, or part of their daily life na gunang cheese, tapos gi-refuse sa mga students. So, na-offend yun ang host family, ana. Now, if you look at the problem statement, ang root cause is the cultural misunderstanding. So, ang host family is, they are just reacting based on their cultural lens, while the students are just following their cultural food taboo. So, this shows kung sa ka-importante ang cultural relativism. So, we should understand people by their own culture, not by judging them. So when we analyze the food taboo or identifying the taboo, klaro nga ang cheese is not acceptable for the students, but opposite to the host family. So ang cheese is very valuable, or part of their daily life, food and cheese. Now, by answering the question, while some food taboos are rooted in religion or culture, many also have practical health and etc. So, I'll explain na lang dito na some food taboos are not just all about the culture or the religion. So, ang food taboo is nagpakita na siya og mga practical purposes. Let's say for example na in other communities, pregnant women are not told to eat fish because naani siya yung possible toxins or parasite na makaapekto sa baby. The same as the pork. So sa enhanced climate pod, mao ni siya ang makakause sa diseases. Or let's say for example, the trichonitis. Aside from health, food taboo can help for sustainability pod. So, maka-help na siya through avoiding scarce or hard to produce food. So, makita nga to na this taboo are actually a form of traditional knowledge and nag-guide some community and for the survival of well-being.
So this is the continuation report. So identify the taboo. This belief prevents the student from eating cheese, even though in Switzerland, cheese is highly valued and regarded as part of their national pride. So here, may identify na to siya as a food taboo because gi-reflect sa student ang maong food ni Gopher sa taga-Switzerland. It because sa ilang belief is di sila makaon og ang mga fermented food. So yeah, next. Into this globalized world, how are traditional food taboos being challenged, adapt, or maintained? So here, for example, is mga Muslim is nowadays silahan ng hinahinay o adapt ang culture sa mga Christian, which is the baboy, but literal na makaon baboy, but also to gain a profit from the baboy. For example, is mag-invest sila og kwarta sa ilang kaila to para magbuhi og baboy, then after a months or yeah, so magbahin sila ato nga maong halin. So the other example is kanang mga health conscious nga mga tao, which is wala silang culture or wala silang belief nga dili mo kaon ang food, but silang kagaling is dili sila mo kaon because dili na siya maayo sa ilang lawas. Then yeah, mora.
Apply cultural relativism. So let's talk about cultural relativism. This means that different cultures have different practices and beliefs. So the main idea is when you see someone from different cultures and doing something that seems odd, don't judge it as wrong. Instead, try to understand it from cultural perspective. So the slide uses an example of Swiss family hosting a student. So if the student refuses their offer, it's because of their cultural background, not because the student dislikes them. So other example, so to make it more easier for you to understand. So when we talk about food, we as a Seventh-day Adventist, we don't eat pork or touching dead pigs. Eating pork and touching their carcasses is a sin for us. So if you invite me to a party and offer me pork and I refuse it because of my culture, not because I didn't like it, but it's my tradition. So that's what cultural relativism works. So it teaches us to view other practices, and this means we shouldn't judge other cultures based on our own standards. Then what's normal in one culture might be strange or even offensive in another. Answering this question, how does a cultural relativist perspective challenge or support the judgment of food taboos in other societies? Set an example. So a cultural relativist perspective challenges judging food taboos by asserting that these taboos are specific to each culture. It supports understanding by viewing practices within a cultural context rather than applying external standards. So for example, some cultures avoid eating pork due to its religious reasons, while others consume it regularly. So a cultural relativist would seek to understand the religious and historical reasons behind the taboo rather than judging as irrational or unhygienic. So as what I said earlier, cultural relativist teaches us to view different practices. We shouldn't able to judge them because we have different cultures and beliefs, and that's all.
Hey everyone, this is the continuation of our report, the Apply Cultural Relativism. So by applying this principle, the host family can respect the student's perspective and avoid misjudgment, turning what could be a source of conflict into an opportunity for cultural understanding. So the question given to me is, how does applying a cultural relativist perspective to food taboos influence our understanding and judgment of them? While cultural relativists promote tolerance and discourage ethnocentrism by viewing practices within their own cultural context, what are the potential ethical dilemmas or limitations of this approach when a food taboo is related to issues like animal welfare, public health, or sustainability? So, applying a cultural relativist perspective to food taboos helps us understand them within their cultural context, promoting tolerance and reducing ethnocentrism. However, this approach has limits when food taboos involves issues like animal cruelty, public health risk, or environmental harm. In such cases, respecting culture must be balanced with broader ethical concerns. So that's all, guys. Thank you.
So this is the conclusion of the reports. So reflect on the host family reaction. The host family confusion and offense. That is an ethnocentric response, as they say. Cheese as a symbol of Swiss culture and expect others to share that, which means the host family reaction shows ethnocentrism because they saw cheese as a central symbol their Swiss culture and identify. They felt offended by the guest accused of viewing as a rejection of their tradition rather than personal use. So this response highlights how they judge the guest behavior based on culture standards instead of understanding differences. So the second question is, what specific action for shifts in perspective would have been necessary for the host family to move beyond their own cultural norms and create a more inclusive environment for their guests? So the host family needs to shift from assuming their cheese traditions is normal for everyone to recognize cultural difference in food practices. So they could ask about the guest needs, prepare alternative dishes, or adjust recipes to ensure inclusivity. By exchanging cultural knowledge and valuing the guest comfort, they would show genuine and hospitality and sensitivity.
So, good morning everyone. So, the next is reflect on the host family reaction. It was interesting is evaluating another culture based on own standards which can lead to misunderstanding. So, you need to evaluate first sa different culture para ma-prevent nato ang misunderstanding. Ngano inaana ang ilahang mga tinuuan. Dili kay mo judge dahil ta the other culture. Ngano inaana ang ilahang mga pamaagi sa ilahang culture. So, the next is the question is, how could a basic understanding of culture competence have prevent the misunderstanding between the host family and the guests? So the basic understanding of the cultures competencies could prevent misunderstanding by help the host and the guests. So you need to respect the different culture. Then what specific culture competency skills such as non-judgmental curiosity. So, sa non-judgmental curiosity is you need to encourage the asking question para matubag nga para padayon nato ang non-judgmental curiosity para dili sa ma-curious nganong inana ang ilahang mga tinuuhan sa ilahang culture para matubag ang pangutana nila para dili sila ma-curious ngano inana para dili dayon mag-judge ang isig different culture para ma-prevent ang misunderstanding o para dili ma-misinterpret dayon ang different culture. Then patay lubat or skills such as non-judgmental curiosity or ability to recognize on basis could have been most valuable situation. So valuable naging siya significant nga ma-one or valuable sa atong kuan kay tungod para ma-prevent nato ang misunderstanding para dili dayon magkasinaa ng ma-prevent nato misunderstanding para magkasinabtanay ang different culture. Dapat na gitay mga basic nga learns about ana nga problem.
So, good morning everyone. So, if the host family will adopt the cultural relativism, they will develop the following. First, the understanding. They will better understand the perspective of the student without judging the student by their own opinion or perspective. Second, acceptance. They will accept the reason of the student of not eating a cheese and they will respect it because it was their culture. Third is they will have harmony. They will avoid talking offenses and maintain a positive relationship between the students. And lastly, adaptation. They will adapt to the culture of the students and find an alternative way in which kung asa makapunta sila laing pamaagi nga makashare sila laing Swiss culture without violating the culture of the exchange students. And and overall, they will have more positive and understanding cross-culture experience. So, answering the question from a sociological perspective, what does this conflict over cheese reveal about the deeper meaning of food within a culture? Discuss how food can function as a symbol of identity, tradition, and hospitality, and how a refusal to partake can be perceived as a rejection of these core cultural values. So, food in different culture has symbolized identity, tradition, hospitality, deeply embedded in cultural values. So sharing food can foster or show connection and express care to each other. And rejecting of food can be interpreted as rejecting these values. This can lead to misunderstanding and conflict due to different cultural norms. So it is important to understand different food cultural practices to significantly promote harmony and to understand better each cultures.